Welcome everybody to our first lesson of the unit on 12-1 probability. Just remember at any point you can stop the video and rewind if there's anything you do not understand. So let's start off by talking about the vocabulary that we have that goes along with this section. There's a lot of vocabulary since it is our first lesson of the section. Remember you can pause it to write down the vocabulary and then come back and listen to the explanation. But our first word is experiment. And when dealing with probability, our experiment is just what we are doing. So if it's spinning a spinner, rolling a cube, whatever we're doing, that's our experiment. Our second word, trial, is just what each observation. So that means like if we're spinning a spinner, every time we spin it, that is considered one trial. Our next word, outcome, is the result. So if I spin a spinner that has numbers 1 through 10, the result is whatever it lands on when it's done spinning. Our fourth word is event. The event is just all of our results when we're finished. Our fifth word is probability. Probability is the likelihood that something happens. So what are the chances that I roll a 2 or that I roll an even number? Whatever the case may be. And our last word is sample space. And the sample space is all of my possibilities. So if I'm rolling a number cube, a 6-sided number cube, our possibilities are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This would be my sample space. Okay, and then let's say I were to roll a 3, that would be my outcome, and me actually rolling the dice would be considered a trial. The probability of rolling a 3 would be 1 out of 6 because there's only 1 3 out of 6 possibilities. So all these words kind of work together when it deals with probability. So let's look at our first example, determining likelihood. When determining likelihood, we can look at this little chart at the bottom of our screen. We have a few choices when we're asked what the likelihood of something is. First is impossible, and impossible just means that it can't happen. So if I roll a cube with the numbers 1 through 6, the possibility of me rolling or the likelihood of me rolling a 7 is impossible because there isn't a 7 on the die. Our second choice is unlikely, and unlikely just means that there's a better chance that it doesn't happen than it does happen. So anything under 50%, and anything above 50% is considered likely, and 100% means that it's certain it's definitely going to happen. And our last one is as likely as not, and that just means that there's a 50% chance. Like flipping a coin, it's as likely as not that the flip will be heads as it is tails. So let's look at our first example. It says you roll a 6-sided, tell whether each event is impossible, unlikely, likely, or certain. And our first one says you roll a 6-sided number cube and the number is equal to or greater than 1. Well, if you think about it, every number on our cube is equal to or greater than 1. 1 is equal to, and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all greater than 1. So the likelihood of rolling that would be certain. No matter what number we roll in the cube, it's definitely going to be at least 1 or larger than 1. B says you roll 2 cubes and the sum is 3. So when we're rolling 2 cubes, the only way to get a 3 is to roll a 1 and a 2, or flip it and roll a 2 and a 1. And there are a ton of other possibilities. There are 2 ways to roll 2, 2 ways to roll 4, 2 ways to roll 5, 6, 7, all the way up through 12. So there's 2 ways out of a possibility of at least 15 different ways we can roll. So that would make it unlikely that something like that would happen. Okay, C says a bowl with discs numbered 1 through 10. So the bowl has just numbers 1 through 10 on pieces of paper or on discs. And the likelihood that we pull an odd number disc. Well, our choices for odd number discs are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And our choices for even are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So that means that there are 5 odd number discs and 5 even number discs. So we would say it's as likely as not that we are to pull an odd number compared to an even number. And then our last 1 says you spin a spinner with numbers 0 to 7. What is the probability we land on a prime number? A prime number is just a number that has only 1 and itself as a factor. So we can count 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. All of our prime numbers. So there are 5 numbers that are prime numbers, and then we have 0, 4, 6, and 8. So we have one more, or sorry, not 8. 8's not included in our sample size. We have 0, 4, and 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers that we can get a prime number, and 3 numbers that we can get a number that's not a prime number, which means that it is likely that we roll a prime number because there's more possibility to get a prime number than to not get a prime number. I want you to pause the video, take a second, do the your turn, and then start the video back up, and I will go over the answer. All right, so it says a hat contains pieces of paper marked with the numbers 1 through 16. Tell whether picking an even number is impossible, unlikely, as likely as not, likely, or certain. And tell whether the probability is 0, close to 0, 1/2, close to 1, or 1. So if we have a hat with the numbers marked 1 through 16, that means our sample space is, the numbers 1 through 16. So our sample space is all of the following numbers: 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so that means we have 16 possibilities for numbers, and our even numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And our odd numbers, let me change the color. Our odd numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if there are 8 possibilities for even numbers and 8 possibilities for odd numbers, that means it is as likely as not that we are going to get an even number. And that means that our probability is 1/2, because there's a 1 out of 2 chance that we pull either an even number or an odd number. And now let's take a look at probability. Probability is just the possibility or likelihood of an event happening. Okay, in order to find the probability, we put the number of outcomes in the event on top versus the number of total outcomes that are possible in the sample space. Okay, it's easier to see if you kind of go through a couple sample problems. So let's look at example 2. It says, what is the probability of rolling an even number on a 6-sided number cube? So on our bottom number, we put our sample space. Our sample space is just all of the numbers that we can get. A 6-sided number cube means that we can roll the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So now we look at that. That's our sample space. That means there are 6 numbers. So that's my total possibilities. That is where I put my number in the denominator. And in my numerator, I want the number of outcomes that meet my criteria. So the number of ways to roll an even are obviously 2, 4, and 6. And that means that there are 3 outcomes that meet my criteria. There are 6 total possible outcomes. That means my probability is 3 out of 6. And as usual, we always simplify if we can to 1/2, because 3 goes into 3 and 6 and simplifies to 1/2. That means we say there is a 1 out of 2 or a 1/2 chance that we roll an even number on a 6-sided number cube. So again, pause the video, try the your turn, and then come back to me. So for your turn, it says find each probability and then write your answer in simplest form. Number 4 says picking a purple marble from a jar with 10 green and 10 purple marbles. So in our denominator, we write our total sample space, so the total number of marbles that we can pick out of the jar. We have 10 green, 10 purple. That means we have 20 possible marbles. And the possibility of picking a purple one, since there are 10, is 10 out of 20, which we can then simplify to 1/2. So we'd say the possibility or the probability of picking a purple marble from the jar would be 1/2. The second problem, it says rolling a number greater than 4 on a standard number cube. So like we said before, there are 6 possibilities on a number cube. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The possibility of rolling one that is greater than 4, well, there are only 2 possibilities that are greater than 4, and that is 5 and 6. So we say there is a 2 out of 6 probability, which can then be simplified to 1/3. And the last thing we have to talk about is the complement of an event. And a complement of an event is just all of the outcomes in the sample space that are not included in your event. And it says, for example, in the event of rolling a 3 on a number cube, the complement is rolling any number other than 3. So if we would say there's a 1 out of 6 chance of rolling a 3, that means there's a 5 out of 6 chance that we don't roll a 3. And we can figure out the probability of our event, and the complement is just whatever's left over. So let's look at our example. It says there are 2 red jacks in a standard deck of 52 cards. That means 2 out of 52 cards are red jacks. Well, we're looking for the probability of not getting a red jack. That means every other card. So we take our 52 cards, we take away our 2 jacks, and that will tell us the probability of getting anything other than a jack. So the probability is 50 out of 52, because there are 50 other cards that are not red jacks, and we can simplify that to 25 out of 26. So our probability of getting anything other than a red jack is 25 out of 26. Again, pause the video, try the your turn, then come back to the video. So our first your turn says, a jar contains 8 marbles marked with the numbers 1 through 8. You pick a marble at random. What is the probability of not picking the marble marked with the number 5? Well, there's a 1 in 8 chance, There's a 1 in 8 chance that we picked the number 5. That means the complement would be then picking anything that is not the number 5. So that would be 7 out of 8, because there are 7 other numbers other than 5 out of the 8 total numbers that are in the jar. Number 8 says you roll a standard number cube. Use the probability of rolling an even number to find the probability of rolling an odd number. Well, the probability of rolling an even number is 3 out of 6. Our 3 numbers are 2, 4, and 6. That means anything else would then be an odd number. So our probability of rolling an odd number is also 3 out of 6, which simplifies to 1/2.